One second, everything's fine. The next second, there's a 15-foot wide hole in the bottom of your ship. Everything's on fire and water is rushing in. And the most incredible part of all of it, not a single American was killed. Only 10 men were injured during the fire and the initial explosion.
6 minutes. That's all it took for the U.S. Navy to erase an entire invasion force carrying thousands of troops, 120 tanks, and 60 armored personnel carriers. 30 Iranian warships entered a kill box thinking they were invisible. But within seconds, drones, submarines, and missiles turned the Pacific into a firestorm. What exactly is a kill box, and how did it trap every single vessel with zero chance of escape? If you thought naval warfare was slow, this operation will change your mind forever. How does a fleet of 30 amphibious assault ships, stacked with armor and marines, get within striking distance of Oregon without a single alert sounding on the coast? It begins with one of the most calculated deception tactics in modern naval warfare.
Ah, yes, the time that the U.S. Navy got upset and destroyed half of Iran's entire naval fleet in a single 8-hour workday.
Every hull in the Iranian formation carried electronic suites tuned to imitate ordinary maritime traffic. Their transponders pulsed signals that looked identical to container carriers, tankers, and fishing trawlers. At sea level, and to the outdated radar mounted on the shore, the ships looked no different than the world's endless routine of cargo drifting across the Pacific. Only in their holds were the real secrets. Rows of T-72 tanks chained in place, armored personnel carriers greased and fueled, and more than 5,000 troops packed into compartments reeking of diesel and steel. The fleet's surface picture suggested commerce, but the weight pressing into their decks told another story entirely. The Iranian commanders didn't aim for a major metropolis. They picked a small fishing town along Oregon's coast. It was a settlement with a dwindling fleet of trawlers and a radar station built in the 1970s, flickering with analog equipment that could just about follow commercial lanes, but nothing beyond. A place like this offered no anti-ship batteries, no air defense grid, no marine garrison. In fact, on the night the fleet edged closer, the only patrol vessel in the harbor sat tied to its pier undergoing repairs. On paper, seizing the town would take minutes and plant the flag of a foreign power inside American territory before the Pentagon had time to sound alarms. At 90,000 feet, high-altitude drones cast lenses far sharper than surface radar. Their optics registered outlines through clouds, counting barrels on decks, measuring the precise displacement of each ship. Automated processors cross-referenced the tonnage against commercial logs and found the traffic records didn't add up. These weren't tankers delivering crude to Asia. These were warships masking intentions.
Of the ship. The keel is this bottom part right here. It supports and stabilizes the structure of the entire ship, and it gets blown completely in half.
The U.S. command didn't flash alerts or scramble jets, not yet. Instead, satellites passed overhead and beamed packets of compressed data down to a secure naval station. From there, the feeds spread out to submarines submerged off the coast, to land-based batteries, and to airborne controllers circling 100 miles back. It became a contest of silence. The Iranian crews minimized radio chatter, running in electronic dark mode, proud of staying undetected. But their pride overlooked the reach of American sensors. Algorithms combed through faint emissions, triangulating them until command centers not only knew who these ships were, but where each was headed. Encryption worked both ways. The invaders shielded themselves, yet U.S. analysts peeled back layers, marking every course correction, every heating engine, every departing wake. Inside a dark command room, 14 screens glowed with this mosaic. Officers studied the display as blips converged toward a rectangle drawn across the Pacific. That outline wasn't arbitrary. It was the kill box, a stretch of ocean shaped for destruction.
The USS Samuel B. Roberts took on half of its weight in water in the first minute. This is a catastrophic amount of damage that would sink 99% of ships. But
no order to fire had been given because patience was the real weapon. Command had to wait until all 30 vessels crossed inside. To strike too soon would scatter the group, leaving survivors capable of regrouping. To wait was to guarantee nothing escaped alive. So while the invaders congratulated themselves on slipping unseen toward Oregon's shore, the reality was harsher. Every hull was tracked, every crew counted, every route examined in real time. They weren't sneaking past American defenses. They were sailing willingly into the most dangerous piece of water anywhere in the Pacific. Which raises one question. If detection was assured so early, why didn't the U.S. Navy crush the attack right away? The answer is written in the design of the kill box itself. Why would any commander let an enemy fleet close to American shores before pulling the trigger? The reason comes down to precision planning. A kill box isn't just a boundary drawn on a map. It's a section of ocean where the coverage of submarines, aircraft, and missile batteries all overlap. That overlap means no escape routes exist. No open corridor can lead out of the trap. The design is deliberate. Each edge of the box is fixed by range tables, missile arcs, sonar reach, and drone loiter patterns.
Another radio message, hey, time's up. They then fire the 5-inch guns right over the top of the oil rig with the rounds set to airburst.
Once an invading force enters, every weapon in the arsenal converges without delay. For this operation, planners shaped a rectangle 22 nautical miles wide and 35 long. It looks ordinary on a chart, but inside that box, every square mile was prepared to be lethal. At 2:42 in the morning, encrypted bursts signaled the beginning. The first relay hit orbiting UAVs. Each drone had its payload assigned in advance. GPS coordinates fed in months earlier and refined again the moment the ships aligned.
Two modern naval vessels, that's the Iranian frigate Sahand and the Iranian frigate Sabatland. They're going to go ahead and take out at least one of those.
Seconds later, deep water trembled as two American submarines received short data packets through acoustic buoys. Their torpedoes were already loaded, tubes flooded, hatches open. Coastal missile batteries were the last link in the chain, but their operators waited for the drones to confirm target lock. The firing plan required exact order. Strike one out of sequence and water churn could shield the next target, or debris could confuse sensors. By locking timing down to tenths of a second, no interference was allowed.
America then proceeds to assemble the largest naval convoy operation since World War II, send them into the Persian Gulf.
The sequence unfolded like clockwork. Drones dove first, outracing the sound of their own engines. Smart munitions smashed into lead ships, tearing bridges apart with explosions that turned steel into ash. Crews who reached for damage control never made it 2 steps. As panic spread across the decks, torpedo wakes streaked beneath the waterline. The shocks ripped armored hulls open from below, venting compartments instantly.
And the most incredible part of all of it, not a single American was killed, only 10 men were injured during the fire and the initial explosion.
Ships lifted from the surface, cracked in half and slammed back down in boiling white water. A handful of vessels attempted to turn away, but those turns carried them into the aim of coastal batteries. Harpoon missiles skimmed just above the waves, striking so low they pierced machine rooms before men on deck could even spot them.
Out and go get some ice cream. So in order to get all this done by quitting time, they're going to go ahead and establish 3 different surface attack groups. Each group is going to have 2 destroyers and 1 bonus ship.
Software guided the mayhem. Artificial intelligence in the command loop read blast patterns as they happened, instantly reassigning remaining bombs towards ships still afloat. No weapon circled without purpose. No target took double the strike it needed. Every second meant another kill registered, another vessel removed from the equation.
1 second, everything's fine. The next second, there's a 15-foot wide hole in the bottom of your ship. Everything's on fire and water is rushing in.
6 minutes after the first drones screamed down from altitude, the Pacific returned to silence. 30 warships sank or burned. Thousands of troops vanished with them. Tanks, vehicles, and gear dissolved into twisted wreckage, sliding beneath the waves.
They're literally cinching the hull together with steel cables trying to stabilize it because the only thing holding it together is a deck at this point.
The kill box had done its work. 100% of the invasion force was gone. Not a single American casualty was reported, not even a wounded operator behind the screens. Beyond the tactical outcome, the message carried further. A tool this absolute changes more than one battle. It alters how nations think about coastal assault, about deterrence, and about the cost of challenging American defenses on the water's edge. The kill box shows U.S. defense is not built on reaction alone. It shapes the battlefield so the enemy never has a chance to fight back. That shift in strategy is the difference between chasing threats and erasing them before they can strike. In just 6 minutes, an invasion force that took years to assemble was gone, leaving nothing but wreckage on the ocean floor and a warning broadcast far beyond the Pacific. The message is clear worldwide. What do you think? Does a system this absolute guarantee deterrence, or will adversaries still gamble against it? Let me know in the comments.